But it's a trick.
No, it's much more than that.
Whosoever be he, worthy shall have the power. Whatever, man, it's a trick.
Well, please be my guest.
Come on. Really?
Yeah.
Still don't know how you do it.
Are you even pulling? Are you on my team? Just represent, pull.
All right, let's go.
So I know you guys probably alt-tabbed away from Pornhub to be here.
Of course, I mean...
Thank you very much.
But it's in the second... It's on the second monitor, that's
It
face
is. It's
The amount of times I
multitasking.
walked in on Ralph editing...
Oh shit! What is that?
Oh, Sam, I'm just rendering now.
Just watching my educational videos.
Yes, it was, maybe gonna be a meme.
But don't worry though, we got you guys covered because today we've got some loot box porn for you, right?
Ooh.
Courtesy of our favorite ever developer, CD Projekt Red.
Oh, they're doing loot boxes?
Listen to the story first, Sam.
Sorry.
Okay? Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. It's been a while since we've spoken about loot boxes on the channel. There's actually been a lot of stuff happening in this space in the last little while that we haven't covered. In particular, Hawaii has now started kicking off anti-loot box legislation, which is a big deal.
Totally.
And a congressman from another state has basically come out and said that they need to update the ESRB ratings approach to include loot boxes because basically it's gambling and they need to somehow include that in the way that games are rated. So that's all really good. Like,
Yep.
we're making progress.
For sure.
The war is continuing.
The war is continuing, but we are winning a battle.
We are winning battle after battle, I think.
Totally.
I really do think that.
The war will be over when there's no more loot boxes, but that is a long, long way away.
That's true. But there's one company that's been at the vanguard of the consumer interest in this whole thing. The one company that we can look to always treat us right.
And that is EA, people.
And that is EA. Thank you. No, it's just we're just fucking with you. It's actually CD Projekt Red now. These are the guys that made The Witcher 3. I know most of you have played The Witcher 3. Sam hasn't played The Witcher 3.
Of course I have played The Witcher 3.
Sam's maybe played 3.5 seconds of The Witcher 3.
I played, the beginning, and it was great.
He's like, I looked up the YouTube clips when we mentioned it in previous videos, so
I've
I
looked at
pretty
gameplay.
much know what it is.
Hello, I saw the opening screen, new game, press that shit, then
right.
I had to go.
Witcher 3 is arguably one of the greatest video games ever made. Not arguably, it is unquestionably one of the greatest games ever made. It was it was basically the Mass Effect of this generation. You know, last generation we had the space opera epic of Mass Effect. This time around we had The Witcher 3, and it's the game that everyone's like, oh god damn, I love that game, you know. One of the defining characteristics of The Witcher 3 was that it didn't screw you over. It was actually a really long game that was really good, and they charged you $60 for it. And they gave you heaps of free little DLC, like armors and shit.
And then the DLC came along, it was like $20, and it was like a total full game.
Larger than most full games out in the market today. They charge you like, $15 for them, and they were absolutely incredible.
What do you think the most dodgiest DLC has ever been?
Destiny 2?
I was gonna say Destiny 2. Easily.
It was basically DLC.
Everyone's like, oh my god, I'm so excited. Oh my god, this is fucking terrible. What have I done spending my money on this?
Poor Destiny. Anyway, the developers of CD Projekt Red are currently working on a new game called Cyberpunk 2077. It's been in development for many years, and it will still be in development for a number of years to come. Hopefully we'll get a look at it at E3. But in talking about that game, PC Gamer actually sat down with the studio CEO, Adam Kaczynski? I'm going to say Kaczynski. I think I nailed that, by the way. Can I just say?
Where? Oh yeah, Kaczynski. Yeah, it's totally Kaczynski.
Kaczynski. All right. I sat down with him.
Someone in the comments like, no, it's Kaczynski.
That's right.
Okay, get it right.
He
Hello?
is the boss of CD Projekt Red, and he basically has come out and said what their position is on loot boxes. And like the things that he says are just amazing. They're the best things ever.
So PC Gamer asked him recently what he thinks about the loot box conversation, and this is what he said, people. Conversations sound way too nice to describe what's happening last year. I would rather call it community backlash. And this time around, it wasn't just the hardcore community. There was a lot of really pissed off gamers out there, and they decided to speak up. Where we stand is quite simple, and you could see it with all our past releases. Most recently, The Witcher 3. If you buy a full price game, you should get a big polished piece of content which gives you many, many hours of fun gameplay. Like, hearing that makes me go, there is hope, people. And there are people out there still that are making games that have a brain and go, we want to make quality content.
I think that like the 1984 George Orwell says something to the effect of like, in a time of universal deceit, telling the truth is a revolutionary act. Which basically means that when everyone's fucking you around, if you're the one dude that's telling the truth, you're doing something crazy. You know what I mean?
100%.
And that's exactly what this guy sounds like. He sounds like a madman. He sounds like some raving lunatic on the corner of like some little E3 booth.
Yeah.
Being just like, "Rah, rah, rah, I'm going to give people good games. Rah, 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 I'm not going to rip them off." Rah, rah, rah."
But the
Like-
thing is, like, when you hear one person say those things, like, he just he comes across as like the ultimate leader right now of
Yes.
like doing the right thing, and that's what we actually need, people.
But you just don't even hear publishers talking this way anymore because it's like they know that they don't subscribe to this view anymore. Like, you do not hear Activision sit down and say, well, it's really important that we give them a high quality, full polished piece of product. Like, they don't talk that way now. They just talk about like long-term engagement, live services, like, you know, fucking, I don't even, heaps of bullshit words. This guy's just like, we're going to make a big, polished piece of content that gives you many, many hours of fun gameplay. That is it. That is
It's
the
so simple.
tagline for
And
life.
It's so simple, isn't it?
So when it comes to the definition of what many, many hours of gameplay is, he says the definition may vary on a title-by-title basis,
Totally.
but in our case, it was always 50 to 60 hours in the main storyline with a couple of hundred hours of optional side quests if you really wanted to max out the title. To me, this is a fair deal. You get what you paid for, plus we're always trying our best to over-deliver. There is no better PR than a happy gamer recommending your title to their friends.
100%. But there has
Exactly
been...
what we are, right here, right now, and we're all friends.
Exactly right. But there's plenty of games out there that might be 15 or 20 hours long, like the Halo campaign. Like, that's not massively
Yeah.
long, but you still go, wow, I got a game's worth in that fucking game.
Absolutely.
So it can vary, but I think he's right in saying, like, as long as you feel completely fulfilled by that experience, that's what you should be paying for.
Yeah. He said as well, talking about monetization, he says, the moment they feel you are reaching out for their wallet in any unfair way, they will be vocal about it. And frankly speaking, I think it's a good thing for the industry. Things often look great from a spreadsheet perspective, but decision makers often aren't asking themselves the question, how would gamers feel, or is this offer a fair one? Gamers are striking back, and I really hope this will change our industry for the better.
That sounded like...
Things Electronic Arts Andrew Wilson will never say. Volume 1.
There are certain
This.
There are certain words he doesn't have in his vocabulary.
Yeah.
Like, number one, fairness.
That's
Okay?
right, true.
Giving the gamer a fair go. He doesn't understand those concepts.
Everything
people.
we do for the player.
So, like, when I look at this, of course, there's no, like, definitive moment where he says we are talking about loot boxes. But, I mean, it's like the elephant in the room. Of course he's talking about loot boxes. And this is exactly the conversation that we need to have. And hopefully then next time he does sit down, he's like, look, I'm talking about loot boxes here, people. They're fucking garbage, and we cannot do that.
Loot boxes are a completely new phenomenon
Totally.
that are actively, like, reducing the fun that we are having in existing
And
video
they're
games.
actually destroying the industry, in my opinion. Like, they're genuinely destroying the industry because now all these developers and publishers are coming forward and in a way that, like, we're gonna make a game that's half cooked, you know, and the only way to actually make it good is for you to spend 4 or 5 times the amount of money that you did to buy the game. Fundamentally, it's fucked. So
Agreed.
this is a good news story today to see that we're seeing people coming forward with brains in the industry that have the power to speak up and be like, hey, this is not what we want. So, you know, we usually have to tell you bad things about loot boxes, but today we get to tell you good things about loot boxes.
And I think that this sort of thing has a ripple effect because The Witcher and CD Projekt Red has such a authoritative position in the industry now. They're such a beacon to so many other, you know, so many consumers. Other game studios are going to be looking at this and what this
100%.
guy says and says, well, let's follow what he's saying because he's doing it right and consumers are responding to that.
Especially because, you know, it'd be one thing if they were just, you know, a mediocre kind of developer making okay games and they were just standing up to loot boxes. But they make some of the best games that we've ever seen. And they're like, hey, we are all about quality and we're still making money, guys.
Yeah.
You know, they're practicing what they preach.
The flip side to this, obviously, we should call out there are
Totally.
allegations of that CD Projekt Red isn't the best place to work, and they haven't really been sort of rejected by CD Projekt Red. They really haven't said that's not true. They've kind of just said this way of making games is not for everyone, right? And which does imply that they work their staff really hard. That it's a tough place to be, CD Projekt Red. But I've heard the same sort of stories about many studios coming up. You know, Blizzard used to be like this. Bungie used to be like this. id used to be like this. The idea that you would just like punish your staff mercilessly because everyone was so passionate about what they were doing.
Yeah, and look, apparently, this is what I heard. Okay, the reason they don't have loot boxes is because every time you walk in, they make you open a loot box, and if you open the bad one, you got to work 20 hours straight at CD Projekt Red. So that's what it's like there, people. So it's not always, sunshine and rainbows. Sometimes it's crappy loot boxes at CD Projekt Red.
And not seeing your family for 3 months.
That's right. They're like, oh, you open that loot box, yeah, we have to kill you
Suck
now.
him out.